Welcome, my dear audience and friends, to Cancer Convos with Grace B. This is your host, Grace B, coming to you from New York City, the city that never sleeps and is home to Cancer Convos with Grace B. Guess what? It's season 2, episode 4 already. My. Thank you all for your amazing support on our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube platforms. I'm so glad to be raising awareness with anyone who is directly or remotely affected by cancer, and also discussing with experts and stakeholders in the cancer space. We all sincerely hope that one day a cure will be found. Please don't forget your medical checks and seek as many opinions as possible. In this episode, I'll be having a conversation with an inspiring lady, one who I would say is a cat with 9 lives. Even her doctors consider her a zebra among horses, having been diagnosed with brain cancer twice and a rare primary brain tumor in between. She is the founder of Gemini Media. She is an author and host of Real Things Living podcast. She's a health advocate with a motivation to empower others, and she will be telling us how she has been able to remain grounded despite several diagnoses. So in this episode, our discussion will be based on survivorship after cancer. It's one thing being diagnosed, but after we are through with all the medical interventions, what happens next? So, without much ado, I welcome Brigitte Cutshall to the show. Welcome, Brigitte, and so glad to have you on.
Thank you so much. I guess one thing I want to mention, maybe I filled out the form wrong. It's breast cancer that I had, not brain cancer. But it's still, there's a correlation to it. I can get into that later.
Okay. Yes, because you had mentioned that earlier, but you're still a cat with 9 lives regardless.
Yeah, I've still got, multiple
okay.
diseases.
So let's dive straight into the show. Please give us a brief of your background, your family education, so that the audience will be able to, know where you're coming from.
Well, my background is I was raised in a military family. My mother is from France, and my father was was an American soldier and brought her back to the United States. And I joke, my brother was born first, but I joke he had a break from Vietnam, and that's kind of how I was conceived. I like to joke about that, but because it was right in the middle of Vietnam War when I was born, or at the beginning. And I was raised in the South because with the bases my father was based out of was in the South, and he's from Kentucky, and so my mother raised me in the South, being French, so she had to adapt as well. So it was kind of like chaotic a little bit being in a military family. Eventually, I ended up, long story short, I graduated from college from the University of Wisconsin in Oshkosh, even though I was raised in the South. I have a degree in marketing and economics, and I was been in the publishing and printing business. I kind of got into that because I really liked it and it intrigued me, and I did really well dealing with clients. And so I had to do a lot of traveling. And one of the companies I worked for moved me back to Georgia in Atlanta. I've always wanted to live in the Atlanta area. I don't know why, but that's something aspiration to do. I did go to New York a lot. I mean, I've traveled everywhere in the business, being in a boys club kind of thing, the kind of business, which is good. And I have 2 sons now. They're early 20s, they're young adults, but I didn't, you just don't know what's going to happen. My husband and I never left Georgia. He's from Wisconsin. Okay. So we never left Georgia. We raised our sons here. We're huge dog lovers, right? I don't know why. I told my husband when he first met me, like, it's me and the dog or not, right? So that's why I got him. He's really a good dog whisperer too. He's really good with that. And then, basically my brother and sister and I are the first generation Americans because my father was an only child. So on that side of the family we don't really know them, but all my family that I do know is in France.
Okay. That's awesome. So you're multicultural. Brilliant.
Yes, sort of.
Okay. Yeah, not sort of. You are. So, let's go to the nitty-gritty of this show. What actually happened that you came to be diagnosed with breast cancer?
It started right before my OBGYN. She recommended that I have gosh, the scan. I'm sorry, I can't even think today. I had to have the, what's it called? Can't even think of it.
MRI?
Yeah, no, not an MRI, but of your breasts,
Oh, mammogram.
Yeah, had to have the mammogram. She said, just get a baseline. So I think I did that when I was like 38. So let's just get a baseline. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So we had a baseline. And then she only did this because she ended up she had cancer herself. So she wanted to make sure her patients were doing it as well. Well, 3 years later, when I was in like 41, she wanted me to do a follow-up. So I did. And that's when they discovered something irregular in my mammogram. It was different than the one prior. It turned out I had ductal cancer. Okay.
Ductal cancer.
Yeah,
right.
ductal cancer.
Yeah.
Which is, well, your
In
milk.
the ducts, yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, okay. So what I ended up doing is I had a lumpectomy, and I didn't have clear margins. I had to go back and have second surgery to have clear margins. And then because it was aggressive, they recommended I have radiation to my right side of my chest. And I am like, okay, if it was to the left side, it would have been over my heart. So I would have not done it, but I went ahead and said yes. And then 3 years later, I had some weird that you just kind of in tune with your body, right?
Yeah.
And what I thought was really kind of fun after the radiation, I was a big athlete and big runner. And I thought after that radiation, I can go run. Oh, that was so stupid of me because it wears your body. I'm like, yeah, I can go running. Right. I could barely walk in this race, but it's kind of a joke. I went to the doctor about 3 years later because I thought I was pregnant. I was like 44. And I'm like, what the heck? And my husband had a vasectomy a few years ago. Like, oh, I swear to God, we kind of joke about it. So I went to the doctor. I'm like, am I pregnant? Because I didn't have my period for a couple months. And then my breast was bothering me. So it turns out I wasn't pregnant. So they did some testing on me. And my prolactin levels were really, really high, which is what makes breast milk.
Yes.
Okay.
So for for the audience to know, your prolactin levels were high.
Very high.
Prolactin is what is used in the breast milk secretions.
Correct. And so my body thought I was pregnant if it was making, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It stopped. It was kind of weird. So, and I was like achy all over it. It was just really strange. So they put me on some medicine, and to reduce the prolactin levels, it kept increasing. I'm like, okay, this is not right. So then I shared this information with my breast cancer doctor, the original guy. He said, let's do an MRI of your brain to check out your pituitary, because that's where that hormone prolactin is created. And they found a teeny tiny little tumor growing on my pituitary, but I found a bigger one in the back of my head, or it's called a vestibular schwannoma. I didn't know I had this. And it grew, it was 2.25 centimeters, and it was at the size of, you had to do something, you can't ignore it. And if it hadn't have been for my breast, just talking about, I kept saying something's not right with me. And I wasn't, not paranoid, but maybe I am.
Yeah,
but
you have to be attuned with your body to know these things.
And now it makes sense sometimes why I would be like a little wobbly, because that vestibular schwannoma, that's vestibular nerve is your balance nerve. And so it's actually, I learned about it. My friend's husband was a doctor, and I told her I was getting this MRI. He called me within 3 hours and said, Bridget, how do you feel? I'm like, this is like, what, And so that's when he shared it with me. So I had to go, it's very rare. So I had to go through a lot of different doctors. Nobody in Atlanta knew what to do, right? Because it was rare. So I ended
up, rare type.
Correct. And so I went to found a doctor in Chicago who specializes in this, and he made me feel better. Because I thought, to me, that scared me more than breast cancer. And
absolutely. I mean, breast cancer is nothing compared to anything that concerns the brain.
Right.
That is scary.
So we ended up, after all these different options, based on where the location was and what the side effects would be, I decided on this thing called CyberKnife, which is targeted radiation to
Yeah.
that spot. And it was, you had to create a mask for your face. You can't move, but it worked just fine. I mean, the side effects in the beginning, I was a little dizzy, for a couple months because, you had part of your brain, but it's targeted to that tumor, was radiated. But then that was about when I said I was 44. My kids were young then too at the time, when all this was going on. And so then try to think, after that was 2009, and then 2014 is when the breast cancer came back on the same side. So we ended up finding a correlation to that. They believe the tumor, when it grew, it's what pushed on my pituitary and created all this weird stuff. And in the second cancer, I ended up having the double mastectomy because I didn't want it coming back.
Yes.
And because it was really close to my lymph nodes, and we tested it, it was fine. But we were worried. I was worried. We talked a lot of different, opinions with the doctors. What is chemo going to do to this brain tumor? Is it going to wake it up? I call it the monster. And it ended up, the chemo long-term stopped it, right? And it got my hormone levels back to, which is kind of interesting. So
so it got your hormone levels back to normal?
The chemo did it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, wow. Isn't that weird? And then in middle of that, I had to, the kind of chemo you had to have with the kind of breast cancer, because there's so many different types, there's over 30 different types. We did a lot of oncotype testing, whatever. And then after the first treatment, I started losing my hair. And then I'm like, I can't handle this. So one of the nurses, they were fantastic, as you know. She said, why don't you shave your head? So I went to a woman who so I shaved my head. That was easier to deal with than having big clumps coming out, I used to have really thick eyebrows, but they came back. But that helped a lot. But then a year after that, I had a stage 1 melanoma on my shoulder, the same side where the cancer came on, the breast cancer. So we don't know if it's anything to do with it. So
you are getting everything on that same side.
Right, but the tumor's on the left, but it affects, people don't realize it affects your right side of your body.
Yes. I read
that weird?
Somewhere. Absolutely.
And so that was found only because my husband saw the little mole. It was like irregular and kind of weird. So he saw it. I couldn't see it because it was back in the backside. And so I got it checked out and they tested it. It was stage 1 melanoma, like really seriously. But that can happen anywhere at any time. When I was younger, I was stupid. I was outside without sunscreen when you were younger. You wanted to be tan and all that. So it's been 5 years after all this stuff, and I've been fine ever since. And I'm very proactive. I call it being proactive rather than preventative. But
wow, that is awesome. I swear.
It's all in 10 years, 1 decade.
1 decade, and that's a story. That's some right. story, I swear. Right. So when you were going through this, what thoughts came to your mind when you were hit left, right, and center with all these diagnoses coming up?
I was more worried about my children. I don't know.
Worried about your children
because I guess because they were younger. They were like the first breast cancer, 2006. I think my son was. Youngest one was 8, and then the oldest was 11. And then the brain tumor, happened 3 years later. And so I was more worried about them. I don't want to make sure they're okay. I wanted to be there for them to see them graduate high school, right? I was just determined I'm going to be there. And I was accepting help from others, even though I'm one of those people I'm the caretaker for everybody. I had to accept people helping me.
Yeah, that happened to me a lot as well.
Right.
Yeah. We're the doting moms and everything. So we hate it when our wings are clipped and we really can't do anything and we're lying there in bed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you, apart from your thoughts, what actions did you put into place? How were you able to persevere? And how did your family handle the shock? Like you mentioned your children just now, how were they able to handle the shock?
Well, I think they didn't say anything to me, but I had to put on a braver face. I didn't want them to see that I was worried. So, makes sense. And my
Yes.
husband, I have to say, my husband's the hero because he had to make support me a lot. My friends and my family
Mm-hmm.
supported me a lot. And also, I didn't mention after the brain tumor diagnosis, I went and got a health coach certification because I want to make sure I was doing the right things, even though I was. And I ended up finding out, which is what I recommend people do, I had a dairy allergy, a casein protein sensitivity.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, you were
So you're
told,
lactose intolerant kind of thing.
yeah, well, not lactose, it's casein protein. It's like the chunk in cottage cheese, which you don't have a reaction to it until like 4 hours later because it's harder to digest, whereas lactose is really quick.
Yeah.
So you
So this
didn't
wasn't
notice
cheese. This was cheese.
cheese and like cream. I can have,
So you
I
were
can't
allergic
have,
to that.
right. So I've got into the almond milk stuff back then, but I'm glad I found that out because I'm like, all right, I'm getting to the bottom of this. I was doing the integrative stuff, found a doctor, helped me figure out, why is this crap happening to me? And I did cuss a lot, but whenever,
Normal. We all do.
oh yeah, I was like, this can't be right. And but it was important for me to figure out. I never really ate a lot of cheese growing up because I think instinctively your body knows not to do that,
Hmm.
but it's in everything. You don't realize dairy's in everything.
Hmm.
And I found out I married a guy from Wisconsin. They eat a lot of cheese and started eating more cheese. And you didn't know that there's a correlation until like I felt so much better, Grace, after I stopped dairy. But it was hard because I had to have a doctor help me. I know it sounds terrible. It's like a drug.
Yes.
Everything
But
makes you feel,
dairy is in everything. Now
yeah,
you have to decide what type of dairy you're going to be consuming.
right.
Um,
And I can have what's called clarified butter, which is make sure there's no casein protein um, stuck to it. I was told not to have whey protein because that
mhm,
could be contaminated. I mean, it's not going to hurt me, but what it does, it makes your immune system work overtime.
mhm. And
Creates
especially with
inflammation.
what we have been through, our immune
Yes,
system we're still continuously building it up.
yes,
So one has to
correct,
be,
correct.
very careful about these things.
I'm so glad I saw that doctor. He helped change my perspective. Even though growing up, I always wanted vegetables and I always avoided dairy, but
Hmm.
that was instinctive. But then out there, everyone's saying you got to have, eat a lot of dairy
Hmm.
and so, but that I didn't realize that was marketing stuff. Right. And I remember when I was younger, my mother and my father would put a glass of milk in front of me. I never liked it because my body probably knew it didn't feel good. I would sit there sometimes for 2 hours and refuse to drink it. And then they would leave
Mm.
and I would sneak and pour it down the sink drain.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, hey, I finished it. But I mean, you learn to, kids
Your
really,
body was telling you things at that time.
even when I was a child. Correct.
So one has to pick out those, listen sometimes to our
And I
gut
didn't
feeling.
because I was told to drink, right?
Yeah, right. But now we know what goes with us and what doesn't go with us,
Which is, I think, is good.
which is good. Yes. So, what are you presently doing now with all that you've been through? What are you doing now to kind of pay this experience forward to others?
What I did after the second cancer diagnosis, I went and wrote my first book, and it's about real things and how we should embrace life while you can, right?
Hmm.
That's kind of what I was emphasizing. And after it was published, I presented it up in New York at the Lincoln Jazz Center because it was through the
I go
integrative.
there all the time.
Right. So I wasn't by myself, but I was with other authors, my
Nice.
health coach certification. So it was really cool to do that. And then I took the book, I had extra copies of the book, and I took it to the hospital or the chemo ward, chemo pod, and gave a bunch out. So I
Hmm.
wanted to inspire other people it's okay. And I still hand them out to people who have cancer.
Hmm.
And then I started doing some corporate wellness speaking and just to talk more. And I asked them what they wanted to talk about. It was more like stress reduction. A lot of people don't realize stress is related to just about everything. It's correlated
Yes. Yes, it is.
to the another place. I did a speech down in Miami, talking to other doctors, telling me from a patient perspective, what I had to deal with. And so my doctors appreciate, they're glad that I ask a lot of questions. And I don't mean it to be, I mean, I just want to understand, and they need to know
I'm
too.
like that as well.
Correct. And so what I did was, my podcast is kind of an offshoot of the book. I want to share other people's stories about resilience, not just always talk about me, because I think we're all are dealing with something, some separate, and just to be aware of, I'm just trying to pay it forward really, and be kind to other people. That's really
Mm-hmm.
what it is. I started volunteering more, actually, right
Yeah.
after this.
Oh, that's great, because I was just about to ask you, you beat me to it. How are you able to stay grounded? So volunteering and
Volunteering, yes, and
yeah.
I do run a lot because I was a big runner, and so that
Mhm.
was brutal on me not being able to do that. My sons ran a race with me before the double mastectomy. I had it on my birthday, by the way, on my 49th birthday,
Wow.
because I'm like, that was my start over in life, right? So they
Mhm.
ran a 5K with me a week before the surgery, because I knew I couldn't run for a long time. So that keeps me grounded. Just I don't know what it is. I had to wait a while to get back into it,
Mhm.
but that keeps me grounded, and just being in the moment, right? And just being kind, and just being outside. I think that's really helps me stay grounded, and volunteering, like the Atlanta Food Bank, and Atlanta, Kansas. I just try to help other people who need help.
Excellent. That's very nice. So, what impact do you think that your cancer experience has brought out? Has it brought out anything negative or positive?
I think probably more positive than negative. I mean, I was really,
No regrets, nothing.
nah, I think it made me realize, wake up, Bridget. You're not gonna,
Live forever.
you're not. You can only have so much time here, and to go after what you want to do. Even, and that's why I've written 2 books within the
Mhm.
last 5 years, just
Mhm.
because I've always thought about it and talked about it, but I never did it.
Mhm.
Right until you're like, crap, I need to do this,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be um, some bestseller. It does have people who have read my books, they find it very inspiring, just
Mhm.
because I talk about focusing on what's important, right? And
Oh,
that's what's important to me is different than you could, what I'm saying? But it just be more engaged with your family and friends.
mhm. With the community, your
Yes.
external or internal community, just keep connected, stay connected, because that really, really is important too, to our
Right.
healing, you know.
Exactly. And I think my son was playing, was on a travel hockey team, and we laughed about it because I was going through chemo, and I have to, one of the side effects is major hot flashes. I don't know if you had that. And I was at the hockey rink a lot, and they were like, uh-oh, because I would like take everything off because I'd be like sweating so bad, and it's freezing in there. But then, okay, then and my clothes would be soaking wet. There were severe hot flashes from this.
Yeah,
And
because probably perimenopausal and all
yes, it
that.
was brutal, but I
Mhm.
was dripping. But then I'm like, I would just have to laugh about it. I'm like, oh, Bridget's half naked, but because she's hot flash.
While everybody's wondering what's going on, hey,
Then I
that's a
put it back
funny
on.
one.
Like, oh, I'm all cool now. After it stopped, because I mean, you have to wear layers anyway in a hockey rink. That's what I would do. I would take off my layers and put it back on. I
Oh,
just think
great.
I'm just so glad they were there. You just needed to be around that too, not just
Hmm.
to feel sorry for yourself.
True.
Because it
And
might,
that's the last thing we wanted to do, actually, feel sorry for ourselves.
correct.
Because once you've been in the driver's seat, taking care of yourself, taking care of everybody, um, you know, um, trying to achieve your objectives or goals, and then you're like, oops, the whole world just stops for you,
Oh yeah,
and you can't move, you can't do anything. That is not a very good feeling
it's
at all.
not.
It's not a
It's
good
not.
feeling. So we thank God we're still standing here and being able to do the things that we thought we couldn't. And, you
Right, and
know,
it was amazing. Some people don't know I started my business
hmm
going through chemo treatment.
hmm
Because
True.
It helped me to, I just got laid off too from a corporate job. A lot of people got laid off, mostly just me. It was like a private equity firm buyout. So that was like in January of 2014. And then 2 months later so I'm like, I was looking for a job and I found out I had cancer. And so my clients are like, we trust you, do your own thing. And then I'm like, okay, they made sure they knew that I knew I provide value still.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helps by everything. I wasn't just a mom going through, I mean, I could help other people with my expertise, and that helped me focus.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't overwhelmed. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot of stuff, but that's kind of how I got started doing all this.
Yeah. But you needed something to take you away from yourself, really, because it's
Yes.
just like me. I mean, I was writing my show notes for the YouTube show when I was in the abyss, and that was like, taking me out of the pains, the
Yes.
feeling, the self-pity, the regrets, the tears, and all that. So you're like not thinking, and it really averted any depression that would have
Yes. It makes you don't
shown.
realize it's very depressing,
Yes.
go through that, especially to have a double mistake, all that. And
Yeah.
it, just a little thing, like one of my good friends from high school, she lives in California now. She had a knitting group. All these women gave me knitted hats in every color. So I originally got a wig and I absolutely hated it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like the way it felt on my head. But I like donning, hey, I'm bald under here. And I
Mm-hmm.
got complimented. I didn't realize, like, I was told you have a nice head. I'm like, really? I had no idea my head, I'm like, wow, I appreciate that, because we have to have all this beautiful hair.
Yeah.
But, and it came back fortunately, but, and it didn't come back gray, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You just don't know it. Right. Those people take me out and make me think about helping others, and not, like you said, feel sorry. And can be depressing.
Yes.
And it's a lot of burden on the family members too. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my husband was very stoic about it and was always there for me. So some people, I don't know, that's why I go to like the chemo pods when I did, because some people didn't have that access like I did to have other people help.
Mm.
So it was good. I try to help them out too. They were serving garbage. We were telling us to eat healthy, yet they have Coke. Sorry, they have sodas and cookies. I'm like, that's not good. Even though you're tired after chemo, you need to eat something a little bit better.
Yes,
So I went there and
indeed.
I was bringing apples, and I was just trying to not telling them what to do, but have them see me do what was a
What
better.
was, yeah, what you knew was the better thing to do.
Correct. And right. And it was they're all really good people. I mean,
Mm.
I just think it's constantly changing, and the research that's going on. They're trying, right? And I'm so glad that particular clinic, they offered what is it? With the pins you get, oh gosh, acupuncture. They're offering that
Acupuncture,
too,
yes.
which I think is
Yes.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the things. I also made sure I was getting massages
Mm-hmm.
2 days after the chemo injections.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not like, it was just trying to get this stuff through my system, if that makes sense.
Yes,
So
indeed it does. Yeah.
I was in corporate.
Massages, acupuncture, all those things are kind of, because it helps in trying to eliminate those toxins that have built
Right.
in your body,
And you're in pain,
and pain.
you're in
Yes.
pain and that kind of stuff. That people think what, but it does actually help.
No, it does. It does help. I suffered from, because I had my lymph nodes removed.
Right.
So I had lymphedema. I still do. So I have to do a lot of massaging with ointments and all that. So it has to be continuous movement. I don't feel any pain as I used to.
That's good.
Just, and it's not as huge as it used to be when I just had my surgery and all that. But it's much better now. But with constant movement and massage, yes, it's good. So
Right. It just
for
helps you.
acupuncture and massages.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I've also changed a lot. I looked at every ingredient on any kind of product I put on my skin.
Me too.
Right. Right. It's not just the food, but the stuff people don't realize is your skin absorbs everything too. So I went
Mhm.
and just threw
Mhm.
away a lot of stuff. But you don't
Mhm.
really, we're all learning these
Yes, we're
things.
learning. We're learning. We're reading a lot. We're listening to other people,
Uh,
and also keeping tabs with what's happening in the cancer space.
right.
So that's what well now, right? As a patient leader, as a like we are, and where do you see a cure for cancer in like the next 10 years? What do you think?
Well, my thing is more about being proactive. And I think everybody's different. And that's what they're realizing. Some of these in the past, they were just one kind of solution for everybody.
Hmm.
So I think I don't know if it'll be cured is not, maybe it'll stop it if it does come back. You know what I'm saying? And there is a lot of research going on. There is what is that? Obama and Biden, what do they call it? After Biden's son died of brain cancer,
Hmm.
I forgot what the cancer, hope for, moonshot. That's what it's called. The cancer.
Yes, moonshot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is it called? Well, a lot of it, people don't realize all these different research labs, they're all in silos and no one's really sharing data. So this moonshot, the cancer moonshot, is helping people
Hmm.
think differently now. And we
Hmm.
need to share and quit trying to make money off of this
Yes.
and help. That's what has been happening. My perspective was in the past. I mean, it's important, but people are trying to make money off of it.
Yeah.
And I was really fortunate to have good health insurance to pay for all this stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
Otherwise, I would have been a serious financial problem.
Everybody would have, not
Yes,
just you. Everybody would
right.
have.
And that's why I think I would, if anything did happen to me again, I would be up for trying to get into a what's protocol, no, different protocol.
Clinical trials.
Yeah, clinical trial. I would do that. I also had Emory University reach out to me to try to be part of a clinical trial and something else with some
Hmm.
drug because I was really tired after all this.
Hmm.
But I called my doctors. It was a take some kind of pill. I'm not a good candidate because I have a brain tumor. Plus,
Hmm.
I had cancer, and sometimes the fatigue I get could be from the right side of my brain over working to make sure I'm balanced. That people don't realize how much.
The brain takes a lot, you know. The
Correct. And
brain is the
so,
most important organ.
right, and that's why I said I couldn't do it. I declined. I said because I'm not someone who just had breast cancer.
Hmm.
So I'm that zebra. They're all like,
You
she's
are
just,
the true zebra among
I am, and that's
horses.
what they all called me. I was like, excuse me, no, but it was fine. But Emory didn't know I had that as well.
Wow.
I was on a database of breast cancer patients with a certain type of
Hmm.
breast cancer, and I don't know, they do all these tests, but one of them was negative. I don't know. I was definitely estrogen positive,
Right.
but everybody's different. I think there will be a way to cure is a good word, but I don't know. I think if we work on our lifestyles, that might reduce some of it too.
Yes, that would help. Our lifestyles, I mean, adjusting our lifestyles would help.
Yes,
Um, we must give it to them, though, that they're really trying.
they are trying
Research,
and they're talking to each other finally, which
yes,
I
research,
think,
because, like you said, everybody was in silos.
yes,
Um, it showed some kind of competitiveness, if you know what I mean.
yes,
After all, it shouldn't be competitive. There should be
no,
collaborations. Yeah.
correct. Collaboration is the right thing to do. And there's some other companies, another one called Tempest. They're doing it where doctors. I don't know how they're going to get doctors involved, but
Hmm.
to access other clinical trials that are out there, make it easier to talk to each other. The guy that started Tempest, his wife had breast cancer, and he saw what a nightmare it was to deal with, right? People who don't know, there's just so many, whenever I had to go see the doctors on different opinions, I had someone with me because you're not going to hear all of it because you're
You
still like
won't.
in shock. Why am I doing this? Right. But I do think in hindsight, having kids helped me gave me the really helped me to motivated me to not feel bad and just be there for them, and having friends and people bring me some dinner. A lot of them didn't know that I can't have dairy, so I would just give them. I didn't want to say anything, but some people knew, but they would forget, that kind of thing. But it's just more about trying to help each other, and that's what I think a lot of people will have a hard time with. Complain about the pharmaceutical companies, but they help save me. You know what I'm saying? So
they help save us.
correct.
And there's so
So
many other people as
right,
well. It's just that I just want the drugs not to be expensive, especially
correct.
when
That's
it
what it
comes to
is.
saving children with cancers. You find out that the costs are too much.
That's true. Yes.
It breaks one's heart when you see that. Hopefully one day there will be one vaccine that will cure everything and not be that expensive,
And
you
I
know.
think that's what it is, because we I don't know, we have too many layers here in our country for the health care. Is that the right word? It's too many layers,
Yeah.
and it's not simple at all. So there's a lot of layers. But I was fortunate to have good insurance, but a lot of people are not. And I think we just need to, I just want to help other people and try to be proactive. I call it, like I said, some people say prevention. I call it being proactive. Try to
No,
take care,
proactive, the right word.
and you make sure my immune system is working properly, because you just don't know. And I try to keep things simple, and I try to be a good role model and remind people just take it
And
simple.
stress-free. We had
Yes,
mentioned this before.
yes,
Anything that's going to give me stress, I walk away immediately.
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it at all. And I do like what you're doing. I know you said you do a lot of stuff overseas too, right?
Yeah, of
I
course.
think that's
Yeah.
right. We see so much just pain everywhere. And so I just started in my community, like I said, doing stuff at the food bank. It's so sad how many people don't have food,
Yes.
right? And it's just so,
It
I
breaks one's heart, especially when you're eating and you know that there are a couple of people that can't afford, one spoonful, and
right.
it's heartbreaking.
And there's a lot of waste. I never really got too much involved politically, but I did was a delegate at one point to try to to help with I forgot what the name of the party didn't make, they couldn't get on all 50 states, but Americans Elect, that's what this party was called. We're like, there's just too much garbage going on, because and I think that's what it is. There's too much competition everywhere.
Hmm.
We needed somebody to try to um,
Represent.
represent. And so I was a delegate for the state of Georgia. Like, we need to represent the people here in Georgia, not a party, right?
Hmm.
But we didn't get on every state, so it
Hmm.
didn't get on the ballot.
Hmm.
But then that's why I got involved with American Cancer Society. I'm like, okay, the Cancer Action Network, we need to make sure we pass some better laws to help with the funding for all
Yes.
this research, because it'll help somebody down the road,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
I I've met with the state legislators, but I've
Hmm.
never been to DC. I would like to do that at one point, but I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
But it's good to share.
We'll be in DC this year, the ACN,
Right.
American Cancer, because I'm a legislative ambassador there. So we've been doing a lot of
Oh, that's cool.
work, and we hope to be in DC July or something like that.
That's cool.
We'll get
It's
the
important.
dates. It is important, especially, trying to see that everybody's carried along, as you rightly said, where when people don't act alone in silos. So
We gotta communicate. We
the
have.
legislators have to know exactly what is going on, because sometimes you find out that they don't know. They have to be told.
Right,
Um,
and it helps when someone like you go to DC, or
mhm.
me going here in the state legislator. Hey, look at, I'm still here,
Yes.
but that's because I ask questions.
ask questions and thank God for funding to be able to
Right.
achieve all these objectives that they're doing, focusing
It's
on.
amazing how, I don't know, how much we can accomplish when we work together.
Yeah.
So,
No, seriously, serious. Collaboration is key. I always say so.
right,
You can't get things done if you work alone. But collaboration and people say with like-minded people, but sometimes you need to be diverse too, and so that you know where other people are coming from. And then
correct,
you can work around it. Like-minded people won't give you the push that
right.
you need to. I always say collaboration, but be as diverse as
Right, it needs to be
possible.
right from different perspectives, and that's
Different
kind of,
perspectives, and then you'll be able to see where people are coming from and how to address those issues that would come up. Um, they
and
would be able to answer.
that's kind of why I went down to Miami to speak to all those doctors. From I was a patient, I don't know all this, but like this is what how it's like for me, because as a cancer patient, I dealt mostly with nurses,
Hmm.
right? And that's what their role is. But
Hmm.
so that's kind of why I wanted to just talk to different people, and I like to talk, obviously, but because I'm still here, but I want people to understand that there is a solution and there will be a cure. But I think it's individualized. I don't know if there's going to be one giant. I don't know that yet. You'll have to tweak it based on your
Your
background. But I think
background.
it's possible. One thing I didn't mention too, after the second breast cancer, my OBGYN, she's always the one that recommending finding things out with me. She goes, "We're going to give you a Tdap vaccine booster shot, which is the tetanus thing." I'm like, "What is that?" And she said, "I haven't had it in a while." And we did some research. It also helps brain tumors. So I had that vaccine a year after my chemo.
Wait, hang on there. Just stop.
Yeah,
You had a Tdap. Let's go back because I'm not sure I heard what you said.
yeah,
You had a Tdap shot recommended by your doctor.
yeah.
Now, for the audience to know, Tdap is meant for tetanus, right?
Yes, yes.
And this shot did what? Shrunk your
It
tumor,
it
brain
helped
tumor.
stop it. It was right. I didn't do it the same year as the chemo, but I'm like, what the hell? Go ahead, right? That's how I thought, because it can help brain tumors. They were
Wow.
testing this out, but she did it. We made the assumption, well, we're just going to do it so Brigitte doesn't get tetanus, right? Because you have to get boosters.
Yes.
And I said, go ahead and do it. Now my arm is sore for about a week, right? But
Oh my
that's
goodness.
when I really saw a big change in all my, I felt better. Isn't that
Mhm.
weird? And so I'm not saying it was the cause, but
But it stopped the growth.
right, it was chemo and then the Tdap shot.
Wow.
And
That
that's
is
why
something.
I know some people don't believe in vaccines, but I think they're there for a reason. And it helped me. So I'm definitely not, and I think it's good they're finding other uses for stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they didn't all the doctors that they were all worried about my brain tumor, what was going to happen with everything. And it has been silent, right, since chemo and the Tdap.
So ever since then, you haven't had any issues with your brain tumor, right? Apart
Uh-uh.
from the, what is it, the cyber knife that was targeted?
Correct. I do have some like scar tissue, like in
What do you
my
think?
loss of hearing, but that's going to always be there, right? That was
Okay.
something they told me about, but no problems since then. Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing. And how many years has this been?
5.
5 years, and you're still standing. Thank God for that.
Right. And I was up for it. She's like, Brigitte, she's the one that is always, she up to speed on new things. And I trust her.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I had a male OBGYN and no, thank you. So I had a woman
That
because
could understand.
a woman understands what we're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she went through cancer before. She had a
Mm-hmm.
double mastectomy kind of thing. And so she's always been real, she's the kind of dog I can call her. She'll call me
Yes.
on her cell phone, that kind of thing. That's the kind of relationship I try to build,
Yes.
because the doctors, so a doctor like that is going to look out for me, my best interest, not
Mm-hmm.
their best interest. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That's the same with my oncologist and I. I
Right.
mean, he's on speed redial, in case anything
Right.
happens or whatever, or on WhatsApp, I'll say, hey, doc, this is what I heard. Is it true? Or he'll say, are you doing this? Or we
Right.
exchange links and all that. Because as doctors too, we seem to get more information than they do. Do you know?
Yes.
So I'm like, this is what I read today. Did you know? Or this is what came on my feed. Did you hear about this and all that? So yeah,
I think they just got so much on their plate. And I
they
think
have a
it's
lot on their plate.
part
Yeah.
of the healthcare system that
Hmm.
they're in here now.
That's why we're patient leader advocates.
Exactly.
This is where we come in. We help them,
Right.
uh,
We help them, and
and
we're
the
very,
patients too.
and and if a doctor doesn't want to hear my questions or opinion, then I won't go back to them. I mean,
Yes, very true.
because they
Very
need to,
true.
like I had mentioned, look out what's the best interest for the patient, not for their practice. I mean, some doctors aren't like that open, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And I
Mm-hmm.
was really fortunate to surround myself with,
Yeah, and have a relationship that would go beyond treatment.
which is good, right? That's
Yes,
good,
that is needed. Um,
right? And I gave all my doctors my books too, my book. So they
mhm,
like, and I mentioned in my first book, I mentioned the doctors during that time, so
mhm,
they like that too, and they like that I took a positive aspect, because that's why my holy shit, excuse me, but
mhm.
this happened to
And
me,
turned it around.
and I was able to watch my sons graduate high school. Right, that
Mhm,
was the goal.
mhm.
And I was able to. Now they're in college. One of them, the oldest, is about to graduate this year. So that's what's, you have to have goals too. And at the same time, I want to help, but they inspire me and motivate me, as well. And I think
Thank
I think
God.
it, what they're seeing their mother go through that. I'm sure that was not easy. But even though I try to put a positive spin on it, you
Mm,
know,
mm.
I think, but I think the hardest thing was probably, to me, getting the radiation, the cyberknife to my brain, because that really made me tired.
The cyber knife, yeah.
Yeah, to your
That
brain.
wouldn't
Yeah.
have been easy to have that
Oh, especially to your head. Oh yeah.
in your head. Yes.
And I um I remember I kept the mask that they had. They create a mask. They customize it to your face, so that you have to be like, you can't move. Your head can't move, so you're like stiff. So I had to take like, I had to take some Valium, because I can't be still for an hour and a half, right? I have to pass
Mhm,
out and
mhm,
just listen to some music. So I haven't done it yet, but I wanted to paint my mask, make it artistic, and
mhm,
hang it up on the wall. I still have
mhm,
it. They let me take it home. I'm like, let me do something artistic with it. That's just kind of
mhm.
how, like,
And that's how you were able to relax and go through that.
yeah. And it was amazing that, you know, like I said, I saw different specialists and had people with me every time, because I want to make sure I'm grasping the pros and cons of everything. That's what I look at. And then to look at the big picture long term, and um,
Paying it forward.
yeah, you got to pay it forward. And I just want to help. That's really what it is. And we're not going to be here forever. But a friend of mine, he likes to go run. I think it's funny, at the cemetery. He runs by the cemetery every day, and that's a reminder to him.
Yeah.
That's
That
a
life
great.
is transient. Yes, indeed.
And I know, and I just like to be positive, right? That's just, maybe that's my nature. I don't know, but I think the women that I was around growing up are that way, very strong.
Mm,
So I think that helps, because they were my, good role models too. And
mm,
I didn't realize being around the military environment had a positive. I hated it when I was growing up,
mm,
right?
mhm,
Because you never saw your father.
mhm,
We were moving all the time,
mhm.
and but at the same time, it makes you more open to new experiences. It makes you crave change sometimes, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yes, it does. And with those experiences, you don't know that it's molding you for the future.
Right. And it,
That experience with your mom, your powerful female figures that raised you,
Yes.
um, when your the father figure was not there, is what probably has turned you out the way you are, because you've
Correct.
been able to face difficult situations, and together too, that close knit
Right.
thing.
It's amazing. And then my stepfather, my mom was married 3 times. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So she was married the third time by the time I was 17. So you know why I probably had an attitude,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're a teenager anyway. But her third husband, was fantastic. He didn't judge people, and that's kind of what he helped us be more connected with our mother. It was hard on the kid, me, my brother, my sister. So, but he was just very he's from a broken family too, right? So he understands. And I learned a lot about he just always like they both all my dads told me that I could do anything that I want, even though I'm a girl. So even the males that I was around, they told me that too. Just
Mm-hmm.
don't let it hold you back. You're a girl, so what? You're just as strong. And so that was helpful too. So I
That's
believed it.
good.
I believed it.
Yes, we believe first.
Yeah, I believed, okay, yeah, I can do this.
Mm.
And not every day is easy. Even though I smile a lot, not every day is easy, but that's what I do. And it makes me feel better too, just by smiling, right? It kicks in some those happy hormones.
Some endorphins and all
Yeah.
that.
And that's why I run and walk and all that. And I have my dogs, that's the lifestyle that I want. I want something, come home to dogs, but that's, everybody's a little different, but that, as they get older, they need help too. But it's all good. And I'm just really fortunate to have a good background with supportive family members and friends too.
Awesome. So right now, what piece of advice would you give to a younger version of yourself? What would you tell the younger Brigitte right now?
I would say, hopefully, sorry, I would say slow down.
Slow down. Oh my
Well,
God, you wouldn't have achieved all this.
right. Well, I meant to say, like, just be grateful what you have. And
Grateful. Yeah.
right. And that's really what it is. I'm very competitive. I don't think it's just my nature. And I think because I had an older brother, I was always trying to do that. But I slow down, but I mean, you just appreciate what's in front of you. Because
Yes.
I can't believe we're in February the 1st, 2020.
Already.
Right. And so it's like, where the heck did January go? And so that's kind of what it just like that's what I slow down, being in the moment, and that helps you recover from any kind of stress you're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm not, I was on the go a lot, raising kids, and had to travel, but I don't regret that at all, because it helped me a lot. But just make more time to, be in the moment and relax, slow down.
Yes.
That's that.
Absolutely. Oh, Bridget, this has been a fantastic conversation. Um, so, what one piece of advice would you give that cancer patient that is going through something right now? Just one piece of advice, what would you say to them?
I would just say, make sure you're making time for yourself, and to, it kind of goes in with, for me as well, to make sure your immune system is going to be okay, because you're going to be given a lot, if you're going to go through chemo, a lot of drugs, but make sure you are going to be getting, really truly give yourself enough time to sleep and eat properly. It really has a lot to do with how your immune system is functioning. Eating properly means, try to eat real food. That's the
Mm-hmm.
right word. Because you don't want to, I mean, it's okay to eat junk food sometimes, but eat some real food, like veggies and fruit. And you can have, if you're into meat, eat meat. But if you're going to have dairy, make sure it's organic. That's just what I believe in. And just make time to take care of yourself, because you're going to need a lot of, your body's going to need some help. It's not just your brain, but your body needs help too. Your stomach needs help.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that made sense.
Yes, made a lot of sense. Made a lot of sense. Eat healthy, drink lots of water.
Yes, drink a lot of water.
And alkaline water. My
Yes,
daughter actually bought alkaline jugs, and we swear by it. We
right,
have
right. The
we drink
water
a lot of
and
that.
and when you can move, right? Sometimes you don't want to overdo it when you're going through chemo treatment.
Hmm.
Moving is important. Does that make sense? Like you said, you
Yeah.
had lymphedema. You
Hmm.
got to move it.
Had to move all the time, you
And
know.
I just think keeping it simple, like with food, keep it simple and drink
Mm,
water,
mm.
and then move when you can. And
Sleep a
make
lot.
drink. I am my family. I mean, I'm always guzzling water, but that because my body wants me to do it, so I'm going to listen to my body,
Hmm.
right? And even though I'm a
Yeah.
water drinker, I've never like you don't want me on coffee because I'm one of those people. I'd be like running a marathon. But because I'm naturally a little bit, I have a high metabolism, a little hyper. So
Hmm.
I don't, I mean, some people love coffee, but it's not good for me. So I'm not gonna, you know,
Yeah.
because then you get your cortisol levels higher, right? Which makes you stress over things.
Yes, it'll stress you out
And that's one of the things my doctor recommended is to stay away from caffeine just
mm,
because of my body anatomy and everything else.
mm,
So, um, yeah, I mean, if you can afford it, go try to find a doctor like that,
mhm.
or a health coach. That's kind of why I started doing all this, talking to people, just to give them some little tips, right? And I do have a blog too that I blog about a lot of these things.
Yeah, I'm going to share it on my wall,
Okay,
your
cool.
blog and your book and everything, and
Okay,
let people know what you're up to and how you've been able to
okay, cool.
pay it forward, you
Yes,
know? Yeah.
exactly.
So, this has been an amazing discussion with you, Brigitte, and thank you so much for coming on the show
I appreciate the opportunity.
and
Grace.
sharing your story.
Yes,
We all wish you good luck with all your projects, and I honestly hope to have you back sometime soon where we can discuss other things.
yes, I love it. I would love it.
All right. So let me wind down the show, and then I'll come back to you. So there you have it, my dear audience and friends. I hope you have extracted some salient points from this conversation with the lovely Brigitte Cutshall in this episode. You guys know how we do it. Awareness always on a broad scale. If you're new to the show, please don't forget to like us on Facebook and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, join our community. I don't know what you're waiting for if you haven't already, right? So, whilst you're doing that, don't forget to share. Okay? So, until the next episode when I'll have my next amazing guest, God bless you all. Adios. Thank you so much, Brigitte. See you again.
Thank you.
Take care. Love to your family. Bye
Thank you.
bye.
You too.